the Ronda Rousey saga continued. Um, just have a few more thoughts regarding the whole notion that Ronda was already suffering from repeated concussions prior to the Holly Holm and the Amanda Nunes fights. So I'm just going to assume that that narrative is 100% true. Take Ronda on her word that that's what was going on with her. You know, perhaps as a legacy from her judo training and getting her head smashed into the mat, and then perhaps on top of that, maybe from some hard uh, striking sparring sessions. But in any case, let's assume that's what was going on before the Holly Holm fight. I will then make the assumption that if she was already feeling like she was badly concussed, that she's not going to say, hey, let's do a ton of hard sparring before to get ready for Holly Holm, simply because she knows that that's probably not going to be good for her, right? And her body's probably not feeling up to it. But if that's the case, even if she did or didn't tell her head coach, hey, I don't want to do hard sparring because I'm concerned about my brain health, regardless, you know, if Edmund's going to lie down and just accept that condition that Ronda just laid out to him, the head coach, hey, I'm not doing any hard sparring, or I'm not doing any sparring, then he needs to come up with an alternate plan, right? Because you can't just go into any type of combat sport with 0 rounds of sparring. Now, I'm sure people are going to pipe in about, well, what about Max Holloway? Well, okay, look, first off, yeah, Max has also suffered from concussions, but Max is also a seasoned veteran striker, MMA fighter with over a decade of fighting in the cage. So he's already got an established skill set, and he can maybe get away with the not sparring part. But Ronda is still basically a beginning striker, so she can't really not spar. And I'm gonna double back to this business about the sparring a little bit later, but just running with that assumption, then what are the drills that would make sense for Ronda to do in preparation for either Holly Holm or Amanda Nunes, both of whom are world-class strikers? Well, as they say, it's not rocket science. I like to say it's not airplane engineering, because I think that's a more challenging subject than rocket science, because rocket science is pure physics. It's really beautiful. But in any case, the key for Ronda would be defend the strikes and then create an opening, or find the opening and close the distance rapidly to get to her clinch, so she can impose her will on her opponent with the grappling judo, get the fight to the ground, and then go for the sub. Pretty straightforward, and that's been her game. You know, getting her opponent to the ground and going straight for the sub. That's been her game. That was taught to her by her mom since she was a kid. You know, like, get this over with as quickly as possible. And Ronda really perfected that. She won the Junior World Championships. I think her final match lasted 4 seconds or something. I mean, she was just masterful at doing that. But her downfall was the striking game, right? So let's look at 4 components of the striking defense that a competent head coach would have gotten her to work on. So first thing, or first aspect, would be to establish a striking guard. Now, it looked to me like Ronda really tried hard to maintain a classic boxing guard with her right hand by her chin and her left hand a little bit out, and then she tried to keep her chin down. But the thing is, it wasn't drilled into her quite enough where it was just automatic, because as soon as she got under a little bit of pressure, hands came down, chin came out. And I can understand that completely, having been someone who switched from judo over to boxing. It's not something that you can just intellectualize, right? Like, you can tell yourself, oh yeah, I'm supposed to keep my hands up. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to keep my chin down. But it's all relative, right? So as a judoka, you keep your hands like mid chest level, extended out. You have your elbows way out and kind of rigid because you don't want someone to get their grip on you, so you're blocking them from grabbing your jacket lapels, and then you keeping your head like cemented straight up and down because you don't want your opponent to be able to grab the jacket lapels and move your head, because when they move your head, they get you off balance and then they can move in for the throw. So it's absolute good judo instinct to have your hands out extended, your elbows out, and your chin kind of jutted forward to maintain that rigid posture. But totally the opposite of what you want in a striking game, right? So there are drills you can do to mitigate that, and that's why you guys see me doing that slip bag drill ad infinitum. So of course, along with the guard, Edmund's famous catchphrase or meme is, head movement, but it's not enough to just yell that at somebody if they haven't drilled it. She didn't drill it enough, or he didn't have her drill it enough. As I said, the simplest way to do that is to get that slip bag, because then you're not dependent on anybody else. You can just use that little simple pendulum and do it on your own. Of course, and the other way is to have someone hold mitts for you and mimic like they're throwing a punch with the mitt, or those swim noodles, whatever it is. But you want to be able to have a way to practice your head movement on your own, because you just got to get all those reps in. So that's the second aspect of her defense. Third aspect of her defense, well, the one punch that we say is both an offensive and defensive punch is, of course, the jab. And from the little bit of mitt work I saw Edmund doing with Ronda, that was not the emphasis. For whatever weird reason, he seemed to want her to throw a lot of hard hooks. And it was just, the mitts were terrible in my opinion, because regardless of whether it's boxing or kickboxing or MMA, you've got to have a solid jab. Every fighter, no matter what quote unquote style they have, they absolutely need not just a jab, they need to have a repertoire of jabs to keep the other person off of them and to set up the rest of their strikes or punches, or even setting up moving in for the clinch. But mainly, if you got nothing else, like you can't figure out what to do, it can't hurt for you to throw lots of jabs and just to keep your opponent off you momentarily while you regroup. So that was lacking in her training regimen. Now, the fourth aspect of Ronda's defensive game for striking, which was the most egregious and also the most challenging to transition to from judo, is her distance. Because a judoka is comfortable, they could just walk up to you and grab your wrist, the bottom of the sleeve of the judo gi, the jacket. As soon as a judoka can grab the sleeve, the bottom of the sleeve, they're happy. They're happy as a pig, and you know what. And the problem with that, of course, is to get to that distance, you just walk through the kill zone from a striker, right? You just walk through a bunch of head kicks and punches to get close enough to your opponent to grab their wrist or grab them around the neck. But again, that's an instinct that's just been built into Ronda as a world-class judoka. That's just built in. It's innate. It's like something her body's going to do, even if she intellectually tells herself, "Oh, maintain my distance." It's her body's just going to, like a gravitational pull, go to that distance of grabbing the other person's sleeve. So, how do you untrain all of that, or retrain a judoka to get used to a boxer's guard, a boxer's stance, moving their head, which they've never done before, and maintain good distance? Well, the easiest, or is not easy, but the most straightforward way is just to do a lot of, guess what? Sparring. Because it's like, kind of sort of like jumping into the deep end of the pool and just figuring out how to swim. I mean, it's just something you gotta go through and suck it up, and you'll figure it out. Now, of course, it helps if you have somewhat benevolent and very skillful sparring partners who will be kind enough to hit you, but not mean enough to like nail you so hard that you're completely disheartened or just, you know, damaged. But sparring is critical. So now, if she decided that, or she felt that she was too badly concussed to even do that, then now you gotta come up with a bunch of creative drills that mimic what's gonna go on, or what you think's gonna go on, different scenarios from the fight. And in this case, since you know you're facing a striker first with Holly Holm or Amanda Nunes, it would be, you know, get your jab going. When they throw XYZ punch, you have to duck under, close distance, and get your clinch, get your double underhooks, get a whizzer, get something, and then from there move to your throw. Drill that throw to the ground to your submission, which, I mean, that's Ronda's comfort zone, but she'd have to get from the outside to the inside, and navigating that distance is not, you can't just walk in, and certainly you can't just walk in with her level of striking. So that also begs the much bigger question for me, which is, how did Ronda, who's a world-class athlete, who's worked with world-class coaches, and she's, you know, a high level, she's a black belt world-class competitor. She's not, it doesn't matter what her rank is as a black belt, like who cares what degree black belt she is, she's world-class level. How does she not understand that she's not a world-class level striker? And that, I mean, if you're gonna give her a belt in striking, it would probably be an orange belt, maybe, at most. I don't know, because yeah, I don't want to go through the whole laundry list of what was not right about her striking, but how could she not know? If you're somebody who is a black belt in one area, then you know what it took to get there, and you know how many levels and transitions you had to go through, and what heartache you had to put yourself through to get to that level. So surely you can't think that just by dabbling around a bit in some other area that you're magically a black belt in striking. I don't know. What do you guys think? And then the second aspect is, like, how can you not know that Edmond Tverdian is absolutely not a world-class striking coach? Like, okay, supposedly he's this Muay Thai, he held a WBC Muay Thai international belt or US belt or something, but yet and still, you never see him even, like, throwing kicks at Ronda for her to defend, which, I mean, come on, help the girl out. Let her at least learn how to check a kick or something, or sweep it out of the way, or avoid it completely, because she's going to be in there with people who are world-class strikers. So, okay, so, you know, Edmond didn't even do that for her, but I'm just baffled as to how Ronda thought that he was a good enough coach to help her at least mitigate striking. But or maybe both of them, are both of them that delusional that they actually really believed that Ronda was a world-class striker? Is that possible? Could one be so blind to your own ineptitude in a certain area? You know what I mean? Like, hey, I know that my kicks will never be a black belt level, but I certainly will practice them, and certainly try to practice defending against a kick. But, you know, it's like, I'm baffled as to why Ronda stuck with Edmond for that long, knowing what she already knows as a world-class athlete who's worked with world-class coaches. So just curious what you guys think about that, and if you have any insight. If you do, please definitely leave us a comment, and I look forward to hearing from you guys. I look forward to more discussion. Thanks for listening.